What's going on, world and football fans everywhere? This is Drew from Crook's Corner, and today, the first installment of the new show on my channel, Rooster Rampage, featuring my alma mater, Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and my favorite FBS football team until Coastal joined FBS, South Carolina Gamecocks. Still have a very fond place in my heart for them. So these are my two favorite teams. And so they're both got roosters as their mascots. So Rooster Rampage is the name of the show. And so this is the first edition. And today we're going to be previewing and predicting the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers 2021 FBS football schedule. So this year, Coastal Carolina will compete in the Sun Belt as always. Last year they were co-champions of the Sun Belt, them along with UL Lafayette, Louisiana. They're supposed to play each other, but the game, no, Coastal did beat them. They did play. Coastal beat them in the regular season, but they were supposed to play for the conference title at Brooks Stadium in Conway. But the game got canceled really because of COVID concerns. And Coastal was deemed co-champion even though they beat them in the regular season. Anyway, last year's a weird year. Coastal got very high in the AP poll last year. They finished the regular season undefeated and only lost to Liberty in their bowl game, in a game where the referees honestly got involved a little too much, and Coastal paid the price for the referees' involvement in the game, at least in my opinion. So anyway, Coastal almost won defeated, hosted College Game Day. I was fortunate enough to be there. They played BYU then. This year, Coastal plays 12 games. Let's preview the team a little bit. So Grayson Mccall, the starting quarterback, is coming back. Honestly, he should be a low-key Heisman Trophy candidate. I don't think a group of 5 player will ever win the Heisman again. But I think Grayson Mccall has a great chance to have an outstanding year. It's his sophomore season come back at Coastal, and I just really think the kid's going to do really well this year. He did good last year, and he did great last year. And then it's also highly likely that he's going to have a bunch of good wideouts, that being Isaiah Likely, one of the starting tight end, All-American, I believe, last year, according to some. And Hiley is just Javon Hiley is just one of the receivers, and I just think that matches up really well. Highly likely to have good wide receivers. Just like Coastal's highly likely to have a good season. You have an incredible defense also. Silas Kelly, C.J. Brewer, and some of the other players are just so good at what they do. They will do great, I think. Anyway, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the preview and prediction. First week, Coastal Carolina plays Thursday night against the Citadel. Now, if you, like me, are a Gamecock fan, you know the Citadel gives us a bad taste in our mouths, but Coastal should handle the Citadel easily. I got Coastal winning big against the Citadel. And then Kansas comes into town. Kansas is the first Power 5 team to ever play at Brooks Stadium. Kansas has played Coastal the last 2 years, both of them in Lawrence. And Coastal won both games, and one of them 12-7. Last year they thumped Kansas. Les Miles is gone. New coach is in at Kansas. I say Kansas really shouldn't have a chance this game. I mean, they shouldn't. They haven't beaten the last 2 years with Les Miles. Getting a new coach this year should be growing pains. Kansas has like 2 road wins since like 2008. Coastal should handle Kansas. Even more. I mean, Coastal's got all the confidence in the world coming back. All their players coming back. Everything. They should roll over Kansas. So that's 2-0. Coastal goes on the road. First road game of the year. They're playing Buffalo. The Buffalo Bulls. Not the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bulls. Out of the MAC. And they are a really good team. A lot of analysts are very high on the Buffalo Bulls. And I mean, there's really no reason not to be. They have a bunch of returning players and they're good. But this is coming off of their game against Nebraska. They are playing Nebraska week 2. So Coastal, I'm predicting Coastal to go to Buffalo, New York and beat the Buffalo Bulls. Because Buffalo is going to be probably either emotionally let down after a loss to Nebraska or emotionally high after beating Nebraska. And as we know from watching college football all the time, a lot of these teams that pull upsets or get very close to upsets, because Nebraska's not going to be a good team, but they are a Power 5 team and they're better than Kansas. So it'll be a bigger game to Buffalo. Either they beat them and they come off that and they go, it's just destroyed. They're so emotionally high, they don't prepare well for the next week or whatever, and they just lose. Or they lose a close game and they're crushed. They're emotionally crushed the next week. Alright, next coming up, they play Umass. Easy win. Coastal will blow Umass out. That's 4-0. Next, after that, Coastal plays UL Monroe. Same story. Coastal rolls over UL Monroe. Blowout. 5-0. Then after that, I think a tough game is coming with Arkansas State for Coastal. I don't know why I think Arkansas State's going to be tough. They played Coastal really tough last year, and I just think they will again. They have a new coaching staff. Butch Jones has come in to Arkansas State. He used to coach at Tennessee. But I think that it will take him a little while to get what he needs going there, and I think he'll do well there. I just don't think it's going to be in year one. The Coastal just pulls out a tough win over Arkansas State. That makes him 6-0. An away trip to Boone to play Appalachian State. And I think this is going to be another really tough game. Appalachian State always has a good football team. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They always are just a tough group of players and a tough team. And the Mountaineers know that this will be the game. If they win, they have a chance at winning the East in the Sun Belt. And if they lose, they're done. And I think because Coastal has to go on the road to Boone, I just think that Coastal's going to fall here to App State. I don't think Coastal's season is ruined, but I do think that they will probably fall to Appalachian State just because of how tough of a team they always are. So unfortunately, I am predicting Coastal to fall to 6-1 now at this point. Already bowl eligible, but a loss to App State. The next week, Coastal. This stretch of games is the toughest stretch of games that Coastal has. It's the Arkansas State, App State, Troy schedule. So Troy's coming into Coastal next. Troy plays South Carolina this year as well, so we'll be able to compare the two. Kind of, sort of, not really, but yeah, they both have home games against Troy. Troy's a really good team, no doubt about it. They're a really good team, especially for Sun Belt standards and the Group of 5 standards. And they played Coastal really tough last year. Coastal had to score in the last minute to win last year, but that was at Troy, and I think because this is at Brooks Stadium, Coastal will prevail. That's 7-1. All right, next week is another tough game. So really, it's a four-game tough stretch. But the problem is with that, and the reason why I said 3 and not 4 is because a lot of analysts think that Georgia Southern is going to take a step back. But that they're like App State. You know, they've always run the option. And they're just a tough out. They beat App State a couple years ago, and App State got ranked, and App State was looking like they could be the first Sun Belt team to play in a New Year's Six Bowl, but Georgia Southern stopped them in Boone. Last year, I was at the game, Coastal versus Georgia Southern, and Coastal was able to win. It wasn't the easiest win, but it wasn't too awful tough, not compared to some of the games Coastal played. But they're normally just always a tough out. Georgia Southern is, and it's in Statesboro. But a lot of people are forecasting quarterback issues for Georgia Southern because they've had the same starting quarterback, I think, for the last 5 seasons. I read somewhere. It might be 4, but I believe it said 5, and that's crazy. But because of this, I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people think. Maybe a 7-point game, 3-point game. Maybe Coastal has to go to Statesboro and struggle. They could blow them out, but I just think it's going to be tougher. But I do think Coastal ekes out a win, and now Coastal's staring at an 8-1 record. And then Coastal plays Georgia State, where Sean Elliott coaches. Sean Elliott was the interim head coach after Steve Spurrier left the South Carolina Gamecocks. He's done a pretty decent job down there. I've seen them play at Brooks Stadium before. A couple years ago, they beat Coastal actually that day. That same day, South Carolina beat Georgia. But last year, Coastal just dropped the hammer down on Georgia State, and I think they're going to do the same. I think Sean Elliott's a good coach, but maybe it's just not clicking together in Atlanta, and maybe they'll improve, but I just think Coastal's way more talented and they should roll. Alright, and then, to end the season, Coastal Carolina plays Texas State and South Alabama. South Alabama has given Coastal fits in the past, kept Coastal from reaching bowl eligibility before. I don't see that being a problem. And Texas State also, Coastal rolled on them last year in San Marcos, and I think they will again this year. Coastal, I think, will easily mop up those two games, making them 11-1. So I'm predicting Coastal Carolina to go 11-1 and a date with Louisiana in the Sun Belt Championship game, which will probably be held in Lafayette, but who knows? I mean, App State, I didn't have beaten Coastal because it's on the road. Coastal could easily win that game. I think it's more of a coin toss game. I think the game against Troy is a coin toss game too, honestly, though. I think Arkansas State has the potential to give them fits as well. I just think Coastal is very talented, especially for a Sun Belt team, and they should, and they're great. I mean, they have an excellent coaching staff. They're coached well. Jamie Chadwell knows what he's doing. He'll have the boys ready every week, and I just think they'll go 11-1 and play Louisiana in the Sun Belt Championship game, and potentially competing for a New Year's Six bowl, which would be huge. Maybe they get invited to the Big 12. Who knows? And take Kansas' spot. I don't think the Big 12's getting rid of anybody. But anyway, so that's what I think this year for Coastal. I do think Coastal will go 11-1. That's my official prediction for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.